I will start off with so apparently our reparation dreams are coming true. I'm saying that in my best Dr. Ball voice. But
Your voice
the
is not
judge,
dripping enough with heavy sarcasm. You
it's
gotta,
not.
you
Yeah, I got to
gotta,
do better. I got to do better. I got to do better when
you
I
gotta
do
ramp up that sarcasm in your voice and in your delivery and in inflection. Gerard is exceptional at the heavy sarcasm. So, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, no,
Continue.
no, no. It says the Dutch government is planning to set up a fund to officially apologize for its role in slavery.
Mm-mm.
So let's see what that fund means. Says here further in the article that the Dutch government is said to be planning to apologize for its historic role in the slave trade and to set up a fund for projects that aim to raise awareness about the
Fuck
legacy of slavery.
you and your awareness. I'm sorry. Go
So that
ahead.
they're setting up the fund. They're going to decide themselves on the amount of the fund, and then they're going to decide how to use the fund. Yep, that's what reparations is all about. The fund will be announced after the nation officially apologizes for its role in slavery by the end of the year or the beginning of next year, according to people familiar with the matter. It may be as big as 200 million euros, that's $204 million, the people said, speaking on conditions of anonymity. The Prime Minister's office declined to comment, and it says the decision is an unusual step in Europe where former colonial powers have been under pressure to reckon with their role in the slave trade in the aftermath of the Black Lives Matter movement, as they term it, although countries such as Germany and UK have made payments for violently putting down rebellions in Namibia and Kenya, respectively. The Netherlands would be among the first on the continent to set aside money as an apology for slavery. Um,
What does set aside money mean? I don't even know what that means. It's just
and
a bunch of gobbledygook. What does that mean? We're going to set it aside. Set it aside for whomst? For what
no,
purpose? To explore? To raise
to
awareness?
explore, to build maybe a museum,
Oh my
to
God! Like,
give.
what? How, see, this is how I know the whites is still in control of this whole thing. Because why don't you ask people who have been affected by the effects of slavery and colonialism? I assure you, these people do not want a fucking museum. You know what I'm
Mhm,
saying?
mhm,
They want, they're running their money, run the jewels, run it back, run it
yeah,
back. And $200 million is a pittance, a pittance. It should
mhm.
be more like 200 trillion.
That's right. Have a conference with African nations, with the masses of people. Let them decide. Right. You sit there and listen. You don't do any talking. You sit there and take notes. Let them decide. That would be true reparations. But as we, anybody with, I'm be harsh here, with any amount of intelligence should understand that no true reparations will ever be given until you defeat your enemy, right? Otherwise, this is a propaganda scheme for them to say, look, we gave resources, so stop talking about that shit. That's basically is going to be the end of it for them. Is like, oh, remember we issued that apology, so why are you still bringing this up? Or remember, like it's like a date night kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't get you this or whatever like that. It's okay, so you can't bring it up again. You know what I mean? Just like that's not what reparations is about. You can't just apologize and then you just get to move on. You can't decide how money gets spent and then you just get to move on. That's not how it works. And they obviously know that already, which is why they do the things that they do in the way in which they do them. And I think again, all the other European countries will follow suit and do something similar to that because for them it's all about the propaganda, the image setting, but not about giving up the resources that they took, not about making amends in real ways, and not about giving up their power and strength in the world. So
It's interesting to me the ways in which white supremacy does not want to confront the things that they did in the past. When while they were doing these things, they were very proud to be doing these things, right? They were like, "Oh, we are the greatest genociders ever. We are ridding the world of savages. We are bringing civilization to the world." They were very proud to be doing all these things when they were doing them. And now, retrospect, hindsight, 50 to 500 years, they're like, oh, well, we don't want to talk about that. We're going to be shredding documents. We're going to be covering up the legal ways and the documented ways in which our complicity to this system even existed. And even in a different sort of vein, not of the reparations per se, but in the erasure of the ways that Europeans colonized the world and the brutalization and the brutal ways in which they did that. So in Northern Virginia, right down the street in Loudoun County, that was one of the flashpoints during the Virginia gubernatorial election, where current Governor Glenn Youngkin was able to run big. He really ran big on eliminating quote unquote critical race theory from Virginia public schools, which it's not taught in Virginia public schools. It's just American history, but no, it's got to be critical race theory. So anyway, there was a school board meeting this week. There were dueling protests as reported by the local news. And the white parents that were in favor of eliminating quote unquote CRT all said the same thing. Like, we don't have to teach our kids this version of history that makes them feel bad. And it's like, so what are you suggesting? You're just suggesting just erase all of the history that makes white people feel bad or that makes white people look bad. Like, where does that lead us? What direction does that take? Because you guys don't even want to talk about or acknowledge historical facts and want to, tailor and edit the narrative in a way that makes you, not feel bad and gives you some sort of absolution from the atrocities that your ancestors or even your recent ancestors committed. So it's just wild. Like, it's like there is an acknowledgement there that America's not perfect, and we do have a painful past, but let's look past that. Let's look past
I mean, that's the way the propaganda system works. Is not only do the elites obviously know what they're doing because they're putting out the propaganda, and I think for the common folks, but particularly the white folks who have, I guess, benefited from the system, they are fine with the system continuing. In fact, their argument isn't that the system needs to be replaced, is that we need to go back to the good old days of the 1950s and 60s, where we were clearly on top before that civil rightsy and Black Power stuff started, when Black folks in particular knew their place a little bit, let's say a little bit before the decolonization movements. That was the golden era when capitalists did more to share out with the white workers in particular, where people had pensions, health benefits, the large American middle class was building. There's a time period for a good chunk of white folks in terms of their parents and their grandparents, when they tell their stories, that these are the good days and the days where America was at its best. And for the rest of us, shut the fuck up and be quiet, basically is what they want and what they want us to go back to. So even when they talk about, even you have these folks that talk today about going back to or challenging corporations, I should say, they're not challenging corporations because they don't believe in capitalism. They're challenging the corporations because they think some of them that they've gone too far, right? And they want the good old days of capitalism, when they thought that again the white workers were open to getting their sort of like their amount, their little stream, which again helped them say, like, you know what, and we'll do our job. Our job is as folks who will act accordingly to control Black folks on a local level through Jim Crow and other things. But we're going to go back to that role. We'll be happy in it, right? So I think all of that stuff is so all this talk about reparations is not about settling the issues or dealing with the history of the past and coming to some new consideration about what should be done in terms of society. It's really, again, just a smokescreen, in my estimation, for apologies that they don't mean, that again will take away no power, no wealth from them, and have that reverted back to the people who they oppressed. And that should be expected, right? That we should not expect the oppressors, the people who've done all of this, to all of a sudden give power to you. If that's what you expect, then again, you're just not looking at how the world is. Like, you can only take that. You can only take power. Power is not going to be given, shared, handed over. That's the only thing that you can do, from taking in various methods and means, organizing, fighting back. The powers that be will protect what they have, and anything that they give you is in order to continue to protect what they have. It's not about making sure that power is redistributed.